Good evening and welcome to Prevent Your Adventure. And tonight I am in Holden, Massachusetts on the recommendation of Maddie, and I am at the Brattle Stop Market and Deli. So let me show you what this looks like. So there's the Brattle Stop Market and Deli. And there's a market in there. It's a convenience store also. So I didn't know what to do, so I went with a meatball sub / grinder. And here I certainly knew what to do. Got a pepperoni pizza. So that's where we're at. Let's start off with this. Plenty of meatball in there, nice sauce, nice cheese, nice flavor. I like it. I do. And this was a little... The goal here is not to come across as a jerk, but just as a guy who's making an observation. Because as I looked at their online, their website, now they have baklava and they have Mediterranean this and Mediterranean that. So I came in expecting a bunch of Greek people, and it looks to be, I don't know if they're a family or not, but it looks like we had an Asian family and they're running it. So nothing wrong with that. So the crust is not overly thick, which I like. It's a pan Greek style pizza, so it's very heavy, so it's not going to sit up on its own. Lots of cheese. There's the bottom. And for those of you into this Greek style, and I'm not saying I'm not, it's not where I necessarily go. You would be liking this. It's a lot of cheese. But to me, the cheese overshadows the sauce, because the sauce on that meatball sub was really quite good. And all I'm tasting is the bread and the cheese here, and the pepperoni. So let's try with the cheese pulled off unintentionally. We can get some sauce flavor here. It's a nicely done pizza, just not getting much in the way of sauce flavor. Personal opinion. Many people with many different levels of sophistication, taste, what they like. All right. Nice. Don't get me wrong, nice. So let me eat some here, and I'll come back and I'll give you my final thoughts. Okay, final thoughts. Brattle Stop Market and Deli, Holden, Massachusetts. First off, I do want to say that the young lady that waited on me inside was very nice. Really, really nice girl. She must have wished me to have a nice day 3 different times. Just really pleasant. So I enjoyed that. The pizza was good. It was nicely done. Once again, not much sauce-wise that I could get out of that. A lot of cheese, nice crust, nice pepperoni, nicely done. And the meatballs and the meatball grinder were good. They were. There was plenty of it, and I enjoyed it. So, having said all that, and having thought all that, and it's a busy little place. It really is. I don't know anything about this town. But it's not too far off of Interstate 190, this place, and people just keep rolling in and out of here. So anyhow, let's give it a score. 0 to 10. And we are in the Wachusett area that seem to have a lot of Wachusett chips inside there, which is a regional chip if you're not familiar with it. Score 0 to 10. Where am I going here? I'm back and forth here. I'm going to go 7.9. The best of that segment, but that pizza was not something that would get me to come back. It was a nice pizza. It was well done, but it just wouldn't get me to come back. So we're going to give it the highest score in that segment at 7.9. Do I have a story for you? Well, I had some hand surgery the other day. There's a couple incisions here, and they're trying to make my hand work again. Old age stuff. And so I've been sitting around looking at my tablet at home. Sometimes I'll go on Facebook to the TV movie section, and there's little clips, and I've been seeing these things coming out, and there's evidently a website called Tourons of Yellowstone, and it's a cross of the word Tourons is tourists and morons, and it really shows people in all national parks, but it was started at Yellowstone, I guess, and mostly it's people who walk right up to wild animals and think they're domesticated or something. And there are some people that just amaze me with their thought process. But it made me think of 1982 and a trip my wife and I took before we had children. We went out west, and we were going to Yellowstone, but first we went to Custer State Park in South Dakota, in the Badlands section, near Mount Rushmore and all that. And I'm not a Touron. Those things scare me to death. I've had rangers say to me they can weigh up to 2,000 pounds and run 35 miles an hour, talking about bison. He says, and they get mad, you don't want to be around them. So I get that. So, real quick story. Took a wildlife loop in this state park, and it's a large state park, and it's known for its bison herd. Especially at the time, it had, I want to say, 400 or 500 head of bison just roaming around. So it's a one-way, not much wider than a one-car road loop, paved, and had my 1980 Saab. Thinking I'm pretty safe in this thing. That was when Saab was known for safety. And driving up the road, and there's a bunch of bison crossing in front of us. So I happened to be in the front of the line. There was some cars behind me, so you stop because you certainly don't mess with them. And they all crossed except for one. This is August, so except for one young bison, probably been born May, and it just kind of stopped in the road and looked at me. Okay, I don't know what bison think, especially don't know what young bison think. So I sat there, and it just stood there, and stood there, and stood there. So I said to my wife, all right, I'm going to inch forward, see if we can't just kind of scare him down the road. And I inched forward, and he jumped, and he let out a yell, and he ran about 5 steps, but straight up the road, stayed in the road. I said, okay, let's try that again. So I did it a second time, and the reaction was exactly the same. Loud bison noise. Whatever. Ran up the road and just stood there looking at me, and all of a sudden, here comes his mother. And I'll never forget this. The mother walked onto the road, looked at him, turned, squared up her shoulders, and looked at me. And if you're familiar with bison, they have these massive heads that are really thick skulls. They can do some damage. I remember reading that they had to develop special guns to shoot bison in the head because their skulls were so thick, normal bullets wouldn't penetrate it. So this thing turns and looks at me, and anyone who's ever had a mother that gave them that look that you knew you were in trouble, that's the look this bison gave me. And we just kind of slunk down in our seats and sat there and wondered if we were going to be getting towed out of this park or not. Eventually, she and the youngster moved on, and things went well. But that was a scary moment in my life. I really thought that thing was going to just lower its head and take us out. So, I wasn't a Turon, but I wasn't the smartest guy. I should have just waited for the thing to cross, and I did not do that. Did not get out and mess with it. Little aside to that, years later, we went back to the same park with my kids. But the rangers give the same spiel. They're wild. They can weigh up to 2,000 pounds. It's getting near rutting season. Don't mess with them. Drive up the road. There's this big male bison and a bunch of tourists standing around it with their cameras, slapping it, trying to get it to move so they can get a better picture. Every once in a while, you read a story about someone getting killed. I've seen people get hit by these things, and it's not the bison's fault, it's the person's fault. So anyhow, saw a clip from Yellowstone. This woman went up to him, and the bison got mad, and they got horns, and came up to her and hooked her, and flipped its head, and off came her pants. So she was kind of running down the road in her underpants and shirt. You kind of get what you ask for. Anyhow, Brattle Stop Market and Deli. Holden, Massachusetts, 7.9.